Hey y'all, I'm Mayer Cunningham, the special education boss. If you've ever felt confused, overwhelmed, or just plain frustrated at the 504 IEP table, you are in the right place. Every week, I'm breaking down the rules, the rights, and the realities of special education so you can walk into meetings informed, empowered, and ready to make real change. And whether you're a parent, a teacher, an advocate, a school-based member, or somebody who's just trying to do right by a student, this podcast gives you straight talk, real answers, and tools that you can use immediately. I'm not here to play politics. I'm not here to play sides. I'm here to train people who sit at the table and teach you how to follow the law, ask the right questions, and protect the rights of students. So go ahead and hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change. We're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody.
Hello, welcome back. We are so glad to see you, hear you, wherever you are. So glad that you are joining us. I am Mayer Cunningham, special education boss, training everyone that sits at the 504 IEP table to navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes. And so we are here to answer your questions and share all the wins and amazing things that are special education. So if you want to just put your questions in and we will start reading them. Good to see you guys. I know I was gone for Memorial Day. I hope you guys had a great holiday, but it's good to be back. I had my last IEP meeting today for the school year. I think, you know how you think you did? In the great New Jersey. I'm here in the hot, sweaty Houston. And then, of course, we have mediations during the summer, dispute resolution sessions, press conferences, because some people were dropped on their head as children. So all the things. And then, of course, schools start. We start having IEP meetings mid-July. So a couple of things. We have a 2-day virtual coming up, June 21st and 22nd. So in 3 weeks, a 2-day virtual training. You definitely want to be a part of that. It's amazing if you're ready to take the next step in your skills as an amazing advocate, however you sit at the IEP table, but certainly for those of you that are considering changing vocations and helping kiddos from the outside in, or coming out of retirement, or you just want to be your own boss, those sorts of things. And then we have a 2-day in-person, mid-July, just outside of Orlando, so that'll be an in-person. So you can come and see us live. You can see how tall I am. I'm 18 feet tall. I'm not that tall, but I'm tallish. Yeah. And we love training in person. And then we have our mastermind starting July 22nd. So big things coming up in the summer of 2025. All right. In Connecticut, there are those bills that try to remove this service. What service in Connecticut are we trying to remove this service? I don't know what that means. I've been told that special ed licensed K through 12 general ed curriculum can teach adaptive curriculum. Yep, adaptive curriculum would be under a special education. So, sorry, I'm going to get in trouble by my moderators. So I will let the great ones. I know that we have many people that have sent in a question ahead of time. So I will try to follow along. Go ahead, the great Cindy.
Absolutely. Good evening. So, Marco is a first-year teacher, and he is so scared for IEP meetings. What advice do you have for him?
Well, there's nothing to be scared about. An IEP meeting is just where we write a plan for kids with exceptionalities to have successful student outcomes. So just make sure that whatever you are presenting for the committee is backed up by one 4-letter word, data. So if it's your recommendation to increase, your recommendation to continue, your recommendation to increase, decrease, anything that you have the data to support that recommendation, then you will be good to go.
Absolutely. I am a high school special education teacher for a virtual charter school in Utah. Our head of school has been pushing for a more asynchronous.
Asynchronous.
Thank you.
Yes, don't try that at home. Don't try that at home by yourself. I'm sorry, we messed up the whole question. Okay, go ahead. Let's try this again.
Format for all classes, meaning little to no live classes. Is there a way to work with their wishes and stay compliant with the service minutes and SDI?
Say it with me. No. Nope. No. I'm not a fan of asynchronous. I'm not a fan of hybrid. I'm not a fan of remote. I'm a fan of amazing teachers with amazing kiddos delivering specially designed instruction and then adjusting that instruction while the cherub is in my classroom for successful student outcomes. So I think people have good ideas. I don't think that's a good idea.
Is it legal for schools to take away resource classes and amend the IEP to inclusion instead?
Oh, you must be calling in from Central Texas. So listen to me, folks. Are you listening? Are y'all listening? You do like a good visual, don't you? I love a good visual. Ah, I almost dropped my book. So here's a visual that you might want to know about. Do you see this? Do you see this? This is the federal code. The Office of Federal Registry. This is a code of federal regulations. It's not a code of federal suggestions. It's the weirdest thing. You notice it doesn't say that? So this is volume 2 of 4. You can get it on our website, specialeducationacademy.com. You can get it in any of my links. It's in my Amazon. This is the law. This has been the law since the reenactment in 2004. And so it says under 300.115, supplementary aids and services include resource. So unless somebody drove to the federal office and got rid of the federal code, when somebody says they've deleted part of the federal code, then they should be denied access to federal funds. And that would be a state complaint that they're in violation of 300.115, and you should file on that immediately or immediately. Did I say immediately? I feel like immediately.
A friend of mine has a 4-year-old son who received an IEP about 15 months ago. Very shortly after, he was diagnosed with leukemia, and due to circumstances surrounding that, the IEP lapsed. Is there some sort of clause that can keep the IEP active in this kind of situation, or would they have to go through the eligibility process again in order to qualify for their local special education preschool program?
No, your individualized, full initial individualized evaluation is good for 3 years. So if he has a current evaluation, then we can just go back to the table with that team and write an IEP to meet his current needs. Oh, look, George. My friend George just joined. Hey, George. Hashtag pinwheels.
And plenty of them.
Is he? Are we getting? Never mind. Are we getting?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
Okay, just, yeah. Squirrel, shiny penny.
Mm-hmm. I've been told a special education license, K through 12, general curriculum, can teach adaptive curriculum. Is this true?
Yeah, adaptive curriculum is special education. So if you have a special education certificate, that would cover that.
How do you get data?
You collect it. So we're obligated under IDEA to progress measure and progress monitor the IEP, right? So we do that so that we know if it's effective. So we have to measure and monitor accommodations. Those are a civil right. We have to certainly log the schedule of service minutes, and then we have to progress measure and progress monitor IEP goals. And then the progress is delivered at the same time report cards are delivered. And so you would have an IEP goal, let's say in reading, and then once a week you would pull that student and work on that goal, work on delivering that skill, and then you will measure if that student made gains on that goal.
Okay, so we have a 9th grader named Brian, and it says, so I have a question, and then he asks, so I have an IEP, and I'm a 9th grader. Now, is there a way that I can graduate early if I got held back?
So, this is not in my wheelhouse, but it happened in my house. So my daughter graduated a year early. She went to school for 11th grade, and then at night and on the weekends, she did her 12th grade state standards. So in any state, you could take the state standards online. Guess what? They don't take very long. But yeah, you can take those over your breaks, over the summer. As long as you have the number of credits to graduate in your state, you could be 10 or you could be 18. You can graduate and say, peace out, comb fry. That's what I would say when I left. Peace out, comb fry. And then somebody just said from our friends in Washington, North Carolina, that they might need another press conference to include probably the Department of Education, and we are ready to go there. What happened is unacceptable. And we'll talk about that more in the academy. Yeah, we're headed there. And I feel like that we'll just have our little yacht outfit, and I'll be ready to stand in the easement again. I do look good in the easement.
You look good anywhere, man. And it's going to be a long hour and 52 minutes to get to the academy to hear about that.
I know.
Okay. What are your thoughts on a resource room versus inclusion?
I think they're both amazing options, and then we determine based on the student's needs what's more appropriate. So resource is for students that have academic needs. They need to be in a smaller setting. They're a few years behind academically, and they need a slower rate, a slower prosody, and to work on certain points of the state standards without being tied to meeting the obligations of all of the state standards. Inclusion means that a student can be successful in a general ed class with some support. That support could be accommodations. That support could be a special educator helping them. And that support could rise to the level of a co-taught class. And so we just had to figure out what is the most appropriate place to implement his IEP goals for him to make expected progress.
How long should kids be tested for IEP by a school district?
The whole time. They should be tested the whole time. It depends. I mean, a good evaluation is somewhere between 30 and 60 pages long. A poor evaluation isn't. And so school districts, depending on where you are in these great United States, have 30, 45, or 60 school days to complete an evaluation. And I want them to do that. I want them to do it with fidelity because we're talking about a child's future.
This is New York City. Are CPSE students who are not receiving speech therapy eligible for RSA or compensation?
So everybody's acronyms mean something different. I could bust out into an Aretha Franklin song right now, but I won't do that. So I'm not really sure exactly what your acronyms mean.
And that was from Trukowska, just in case we see it come in on the bottom.
Okay.
Okay. A child is to receive full resource in form of pullout, but due to ARDS, he is missing 90 minutes plus a week of instruction. Is this okay?
Say it with me. It's either legal or it's illegal. It's either delivering FAPE or it's denying FAPE. So we'll go with illegal, and you're denying the student FAPE. So those 90 minutes that he's missed for 36 instructional weeks, whatever 36 times 90 is, Rachel will add it up. He is due that in compensatory time minimum. Ooh, somebody's TikTok is called Dysfunction Junk. I like it. Dysfunction Junction.
What's your function? What can a parent do if their child was put into a life skills placement that she didn't agree to?
She should get representation. There are some things that you're going to need to invest in an advocate. And I know that an advocate can be an investment in time, emotion, and other resources. I don't know of a better investment than your child and your child's future.
3,240 minutes.
The student is due 3,240 minutes for the denial of FAPE. And those are just the minutes. We don't know the actual outcome of penalizing that student.
Okay, let's see. Is it legal to send a sub-para when a one-to-one para is absent?
You can send in a sub, you can send in a hoagie, you can send in a biscuit, but obviously you can send a substitute. A para is, if they're not delivering and replicating specially designed instruction, that can be any staff member from the district, city, or county.
What are your thoughts on a principal pulling students assigned a one-on-one for a different student who has severe ASD?
We don't remove one student's FAPE to deliver another student's FAPE. FAPE, we should have shirts that say FAPE for all.
Oh, that's good.
Or may the FAPE be with you. Or FAPE on with your bad self. There's no end to it. Sorry.
Let's see. Can compensatory time be reduced?
No. Why would you reduce it? You've already denied him something, which is why you're having to deliver to compensatory time. I mean, I guess if the parent agrees to that, I wouldn't agree to, you've denied my student FAPE, we've agreed on something to compensate for the denial of FAPE, and now we're going to reduce it some more. That would be a hard no for me.
How long should IS keep data they have collected for a former student?
I would keep your data for 2 years because parents can file 2 years back for a due process hearing. Somebody says, are these recording available for viewing after the live? They are available in 2 locations. Say it with me. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Sorry, I've been trapped in a room all weekend. So you can go to the Special Education Podcast. Is that what it's called? Special Education, what is it called? Special Education Academy Podcast?
Yes.
I'm just up here guessing, or Karen Mayer Cunningham. So that podcast will always have this question and answer. And then also it is up on YouTube the following day. So if you'd like to just hear my soft, soothing voice, you can listen to the podcast. If you would like to see my outfit selection of the evening and judge whether or not I have too much blush on, I would head over to YouTube.
Or you could play them walking into your own IEP and scare the bejesus out of everyone. Oh, did I say that out loud?
There's that.
If a student isn't eligible for an IEP, should they be offered a 504?
Not if they don't need one. They should be offered the support that they need. Did Rachel get a haircut recently?
It looks very voluminous.
It looks very Miss Texas.
Very clean.
Oh, somebody just said you can never have too much blush on. Thank you. Amen.
Why do they offer a bargaining offer with compensatory services?
To save money. I'm sorry. I wish it was more glamorous than that. It's not.
Is it typical to lose an elective for a class to work on goals?
It's illegal. We don't lose a class to work on goals. You work on the goal in the appropriate class. What are people thinking, Cindy? What are you kidding me?
Yeah. Child had 1/4 of an education unaccounted for on an IEP report. What should the compensation look like?
Well, compensatory time is relief delivered to the student to return them back to where they would have been had the IDEA violation not occurred.
Okay. Are parents required to take abuse from students?
Nobody's required to take abuse from anybody.
Do parents have the right to deny placement?
Parents have a right to disagree with the placement recommendation from the local education agency. If you disagree with the placement, you would reconvene within 10 days or time that both parties can agree upon. If you agree the second time, I would recommend that you do not waive your 5 days and then consider whether or not it's appropriate for you and your family to invest in representation and file a due process hearing. And that would initiate stay put, meaning that the current student's placement would continue until a hearing officer makes a determination. Are you holding a sign up for me, Elena?
When is the next 2-day virtual?
The next 2-day virtual is going to be Saturday, June 21st, and Sunday, June 21st, at your local beach, bedroom, balcony, bathtub, wherever you are. Join us. If you're in the bathtub, please keep your camera off. But we had the best training this last weekend. We had people from all over the place. From, where were they from? From Massachusetts to California. It was amazing.
Yes, we literally had
Literally. Georgia was in the house. Montana was in the house. Wacky girls from Florida were there. It's crazy, I tell you.
Yes.
Crazy. It was good times.
So the 21st and the 22nd.
21st and 21st and 22nd, 9 to 5 Central Standard Time. Of course, you get the recordings and 8,562,000 resources, checklists, scripts. It's just, if you just got the resources, you'd be amazing. But you don't. You get me, you get training, and then you're suited up and ready to roll out.
And it's a great time.
It's a great time.
Are paras allowed to, quote unquote, handle an aggressive child or remove them when needed? What should I do if I'm told to handle it?
Handle it. Any employee of the district has been trained on positive behavior interventions and proper restraint if needed, can address the student's need. Safety is, there's nothing more important in any setting, but in a school setting, than safety of everyone. And when I mean everyone, I mean everyone.
How do you determine if it's more beneficial for a student to be in resource or life skills?
Sure. So children in life skills are working on functional needs. They're working on dressing. They're working on feeding. They're working on safety. They're working on functional academics. They cannot do the depth and breadth of state standards, even if it's modified. There'll probably be students that need consideration for guardianship when they're adults. And so we're working on functional needs, vocational needs, whereas a student in resource has an academic deficit and needs a smaller setting, but is just a few years behind. They can still do the state standards, just not the volume of them.
Our district doesn't have resource.
They do.
So
Wait, they. Hello. If your district is in the United States of America, they got it. I'm sorry. Was there a question? I'm sorry.
It was exactly that. You got it.
Yeah.
Bang on. Our district does not have resources, so we are limited in ideas. What do we do?
Somebody with a big mouth, and I know a couple people, need to find one family to represent and file a systemic complaint with the state. That is unbelievably illegal. It's been illegal since December 2nd, 1975. If you need somebody to come to your district and stand in front of your district and do a press conference, I know somebody. But if nobody says something, all of that will continue, and these students will not be able to be successful adults, and many of them will be participating in the criminal justice system. So it is past unacceptable.
Should my third grader be missing science for her 30 minutes of service for her math IEP, which just started today?
She should be working on her math IEP during, wait for it, math. I know, and that's silly. That's crazy. That's what you learn when you're not a college graduate. Math is math is not mathing, but bomb.
Just to clarify, is it correct if a student that has an IEP is placed in AE, does his or her LRE does not change?
Well, his LRE is where we implement the IEP. His location has changed, but you're still charged with implementing the totality of the IEP. So if you think by sending them to an alternative education placement, you're not on the hook for the whole IEP, you'd be wrong. And often when I'm in a meeting and the great school district would like to send Bobby Joe or Sally Sue to an out-of-district placement, an alternative setting, I say that's not a problem. Just want to confirm, Principal Modern, that all of his IEP will be implemented every day. Well, not all of it. Okay, well then we'll go ahead and stay at school then.
Can the SPED teacher, who also teaches general education, be the SPED teacher and the general education teacher at an IEP meeting?
If the student is between the ages of 3 and 5 and the student is participating in ECSE, Early Childhood Special Education. Other than that, we're going to need to find another friend to be one of those people.
Can placement of an eligibility be changed? And if so, what are the steps to take?
Eligibility is not a placement. And eligibility is a determination that the student has met a federal criteria of one of the federal eligibilities. Placement is where we have decided after we did a whole IEP, we did prescriptive, puffy, pristine present levels, amazing annual goal to address all of their unique circumstances, appropriate and needed only accommodations. We had a great conversation about the least restricted environment, and we determined what their schedule of services is.
It says, I have a question about Washington schools. I think it was, can we answer questions all over the United States?
Well, if you're in the Kodiak Islands, Miami-Dade, Brewster, New York, Los Angeles, you got a question, we'll answer them.
Hi, my son has a behavior goal, but they suspended him without following the IEP. What do I do?
So I would ask for an MDR, Manifestation Determination Resolution meeting. And we are charged with answering one of two questions. Was this action and behavior connected to the student's disability? And number two, was it a failure of the LEA to implement the IEP?
Can a SPED student be pulled from one general education class to take a test from a different general education class?
And that would be fine. If that's where the student maybe receives small group testing, individual testing, that's fine.
Here's something shocking. I'm not sure if you know. We have never been trained on proper restraint.
That would be a problem if you ever are required to restrain somebody, because you certainly don't want to do it wrong, because not only would you hurt the student, you could literally permanently injure yourself. It's usually the adults that get hurt quicker than the dysregulated student. So I would ask your leadership, this is what you would email: Dear Buttercup, we would like to be trained in proper restraint usage should we ever have to use it on one of our students. Thank you, and Karen says hi.
I need help. Can paras be left with students that have aggressive behaviors and BIPs to be left alone?
I mean, certainly a para could be alone with a student for a period of time. When you say left alone, I don't know, is that for the teachers going to lunch? Is that for we're doing independent work time? We're working on arts and crafts? The para cannot be with the student all day long being their instructor.
During my son's IEP, a teacher shoved my son to redirect him to go in another direction. What do you think I should do?
I would ask the principal to please make sure that that teacher that is dysregulated never puts her hands on my son like that again.
Is there a difference between just life skills and academic life skills?
No. I mean, we call life skills a bunch of things. We call it AA, SDC. They're receiving an alternate curriculum. So there's two curriculums in a state. Say it with me. Two. There's the general ed curriculum, and there's an alternate curriculum. And we certainly can modify the general ed curriculum for kids that need modification in general ed or resource. But in a self-contained setting where they're delivering an alternate curriculum, it's been called life skills forever. We like to change names of things to make it sound better or different or I don't know what. But if your student is receiving functional academics, they are in a life skills setting.
Many people say thank you, that they love you, and that they need you in their district.
Well, call me. I can come. I have frequent flyer miles, and I love an airport. I love an airport.
What if I don't agree with the BIP? I have reconvened 5 times, and I'm not giving up anytime soon.
Well, do you disagree with the BIP or you disagree with the FBA? So if you disagree with the FBA, the Functional Behavior Assessment, you can ask for an IEE, an outside independent educational evaluation, to replace that FBA. I don't know what parts of the BIP you would be disagreeing with. I'm assuming the interventions to mitigate the behavior.
How do you get parents to realize they need an advocate when services aren't being provided?
You meet them behind Aldi's and you hand them a little note and then you drive off really quickly. You know, I'm so thankful for a teacher who handed me a little note in 1997. But face forward, like she didn't give me the little note, it changed my life. So get that information to parents. You wouldn't sell your house without a realtor. You probably wouldn't make investments without a broker. You probably wouldn't change the transmission in your car if you didn't have that training. And so, just like you take somebody to the doctor with you, you need support. You're walking into a legal meeting. I love school-based members. I struggle to meet many of them that have had robust advocacy training. Having a certificate as a special educator, and I know this is going to hurt somebody's feelings, that's okay. Being a certified special education teacher does not mean that you understand these 115 statutes. It just doesn't. It means you went to school to be a special educator, and that's great. But an advocate knows and understands the federal law, the letter of the law, the application of the law, and the spirit of the law. Their state statutes, the obligations to implement an IEP with fidelity, the legal obligations under OCR for a 504. They're two different things.
If a student's needs cannot be met in a public charter school, can the school refuse to accept them back?
So charter schools are wonky. That's an illegal legal word. I would never, ever tell one of my clients with an identified child with a disability who needs an IEP to put their student in a charter school. I've just had way too many experiences. Charter schools are amazing, but whether we like to say it or not, they're schools of choice. And rarely are they going to have special education staff members that can deliver a whole IEP. They usually have some amazing, nice lady or nice man who is a special educator, and they're running up and down 3 floors trying to serve kindergartners for 5th graders all day. They don't have the hands to serve our kiddos.
Is a classroom observation required to determine if a student is eligible?
Well, we don't need to observe a classroom. We're the school. We know what goes on in the classroom. We would observe the student.
Okay.
Is the parent asking for an observation? Is that what the question is? I don't know.
That's a great question. It's by no nickname. So if you see it coming in through the bottom.
No nickname.
What types of compensatory services do I ask for when there is regression throughout the year?
Yeah, so that's sort of like how many colors of blue are there. So that's something I would certainly have to do a records review to determine that. I've had compensatory services that have lasted 6 years in settlements, and I've had compensatory services that were just a few hours. So it would depend on the acuity of the loss, the egregiousness of the denial of FAPE, and what we could do to mitigate that.
How do I handle a nurse who's refusing to follow feeding orders provided from the doctor?
I would reach out to the lead nurse for the district. Whoever's in charge of nursing for the district, that's their supervisor. Somebody said 6 years. Yep. It was a settlement that we did for the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights. Love the Office of Civil Rights.
What would be the first steps requesting an OOD?
I don't know what an OOD is.
Me neither. It's from Mishy Mish, just in case.
Somebody said, how do we get a legal advocate with a restricted income? So there's no such thing as legal advocates, but you could reach out to Disability Rights. Disability Rights is a national entity that's federally funded. They're an agency that exists in states. They have limitations on the types of class that they take, types of cases that they take, but that might be something that's helpful. Out of district. Okay, OOD. OOD is out of district. So what was the question again with OOD?
Oh, let me look. Hang on one second. What would be the first steps requesting out of district?
So it's not first steps. It's a little bit longer of a process than that. You're going to need representation. We do that all the time. You have to have the data that supports that. You also have to have a place that could receive that student, that could bring about change. So there's that. So somebody said that Disability Rights has closed their intake line for the time being due to federal funding. So I would just like to say for the record, can I say this for the record?
Yes.
Okay. There hasn't been any funding reduction since fall. All the funding comes in October, I believe. So, should I have said that? I don't know. Should I have said 90 of the things that I've said? Yeah, so I don't know why that would be closed.
Where do you send questions to be answered?
You can put them in the chat. You can join Special Education Academy, where we meet every Monday night at 8 p.m. Central, where I train in series, and then we open up for questions. That's really where you want to ask your questions. Special Education Academy.
What do you do when you know your case manager is not fulfilling your child's minutes?
File a state complaint. So we have a training on our website, Special Education Academy, with a recorded state complaint training that you could invest in. You could reach out to us. We have a team of nationwide advocates, and we file state complaints for clients all day long. But if you're going to file a state complaint, you need to make sure that you do it right, because it's either going to be great or it's not going to be opened.
Here's one of my favorite questions, and I'd love for you to answer it.
Yeah.
How long does a child need to be in MTSS RTI before a referral can be made for special education psychoeducational evaluation?
He needs to be in those settings for 0 minutes. 0. MTSS, RTI, SST is blustering by the school district to not meet their obligations under IDEA. Under IDEA in 300.111, it says that the LEA is charged with doing a number of things that they never do. Identifying, locating, and evaluating. You ever see anybody in your neighborhood on the weekend knocking on doors going, hey, trouble reading in there? Hey, anybody have behavior needs? You ever see anybody at your church? You ever see anybody at the city council office? You ever see anybody at the pediatrician putting on presentations for child find? Nope. And that's part of their federal obligation. But I digress. But the law says that they are charged with identifying, locating, and evaluating children who who have suspected disabilities, who may be in need of special education and related services. So this telling staff members that you have to do something else is a lie, and you're harming children. You are hurting children on purpose. Sorry, I don't like when schools do that. I don't know if you noticed that. I don't like lying. I don't like lying. I don't mind lying about my hair color or how much I weigh. But when we talk about children with disabilities that have received federal funding, it's disgusting that we just look at our staff members and we lie to our staff members and train them to do something illegal.
The staff suspects our daughter is dyslexic, but no evaluations are being completed. Now they want to retain her. What do you think is best for me to do?
So I wouldn't tell you what is best. Depending on a number of issues, I don't know how old she is, but if she rises to the level of being detained, then we absolutely have triggered child find. We've absolutely triggered child find. And so I would send an email based upon the school's recommendation for my daughter's retention. We have triggered child find. Please provide me a date when I can come in and sign notice and consent for my child to have a full assessment for special education and related services.
I'm not sure if this is an add-on and if we already addressed it. What qualifies a student not to be eligible for OOD, out of district?
That the student's needs can be addressed somewhere inside of the entire district. So I live in a district where there are 6 high schools. I don't know how many junior highs and how many elementary schools. So for me to meet my burden legally that this student requires out of district placement, then I would have to prove that the acuity of his needs could not be handled actually in a public school, right? And that he has a higher level of needs that occurs in the program settings and options in this district.
My son didn't qualify for an IEP, and he has high behavioral needs, causing him to miss class and falling behind. What would you do?
If he has behavioral needs, I would be surprised that he didn't qualify for an IEP. I'm going to assume, based upon your question, you had an evaluation. I request an IEE, an independent educational evaluation, at the expense of the district.
Can you talk about how some students are listed as having indirect services, and what does that mean?
That means adults are working with each other. So there's 2 kinds of services, direct and indirect. So direct means that service provider is providing a service to the disabled student. Indirect means that special educator or related or instructional service provider needs to provide additional time to the staff members.
My son has no intellectual diagnosis. He has been in an SDC, and I don't agree it is his LRE. What to do?
So SDC, social development class, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have an intellectual disability. There are often individuals in there with severe emotional disabilities, neurological differences, autism. So not every student in an SDC class is going to have an intellectual disability.
Can a student have only a para during summer school, or should there be a special education teacher as well?
So summer school, I think what you mean is ESY, Extended School Year Services. So summer school is summer school. That doesn't necessarily apply to students with disabilities, but for students with disabilities, they go to ESY, Extended School Year Services, and of course there's special educators there. So
they want to move my son's school because of overcapacity. Can I do anything? They said no. So I'm asking you.
I guess you could build another school. I don't know. I mean, if you're overcrowded, you're overcrowded.
Let's see. What's your number? How do we get a hold of you?
It's 1-800-SIZZLE. So my number is advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. Advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
Excellent. EAs are being used as the teacher and left alone with aggressive students. Is this okay?
It's say it with me. Here's the real question. Let's not ask if things are okay anymore. Let's ask if they're legal. That is not.
Let's see. Oh, there we go. Hang on. Child's behavior therapist did an FBA using another child's behavior on my child's assessment. What do I do?
Ask for a new assessment?
Wow. How can I ask a question? It's a big question regarding a job.
You would email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
And that's the same answer for how do we schedule a consultation.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, look, it's little Shannon. Y'all wave at Shannon. Hi, we're all waving Shannon. You can't see them, but we are.
My kid's principal implied on record that if I'm not happy with a shortened day, that he'll expel my child. Is this legal?
Threatening parents is not legal. They're obligated to deliver a full instructional day, Buttercup. So I would reach out to the state education agency and ask for a facilitator at your IEP meeting. Oh, everybody's waving to Shannon. That's so fantastic.
Yay! Are paid advocates required to have a certification? The school is saying my advocate must be certified.
Wow, that is comical. Parents are allowed to bring somebody to support them. So advocates do not have any required certification. I wonder what state are you in? I definitely want to know what state you're in. State of confusion. I was in a meeting this spring. One of my clients called me, and she was supporting her sister-in-law, and the principal said, she asked something for her sister-in-law. It was her first time to have an IEP meeting for a little boy. And the principal said, are you an advocate? And my client, she said, no, I'm just here for my sister-in-law. She goes, only advocates are allowed to talk at the meeting. Oh, Lord. It's going to be a no for me. It's gonna be me. What is wrong with people? Do you think that their principal lanyard got too tight or something? Is that what happened? He had very big arms. He had spent a lot of time in the gym. And then when I got to the meeting, y'all want to know what he said to me at the meeting? I said, we know the student needs a reading fluency goal. He's, at the end of first grade, he reads 16 words correct per minute. And he said, he cannot have a reading goal if he doesn't have a reading fluency eligibility. And I indicated that he was mistaken on his information. He goes, well, how would you know? You're not even a teacher. Oh. You know what we need to produce? We need to produce an advocate bag. Like a bag that we can just breathe into the meeting so we don't say something that we're thinking.
Okay, this isn't a question, but I have to read it for you.
Okay.
Our special education director fell asleep in our IEP meeting, then woke up to tell me that he'd like chips and salsa.
Oh, well, I hope he's from Texas. I would always like chips and salsa. I had an IEP meeting, and then we had to reconvene, and the Spanish teacher fell asleep in the IEP meeting, and we'd actually taken a break, and you know when you turn all your little cubes off, just his cube was left, and he was like, he had fallen asleep on his chin, and then he woke up, and he was like, I'm here, alone, in the Matrix. And then he fell asleep at the second meeting. I said, if we could get all the attendees to be awake during the meeting, that would be great. Just awake. It's going to help you participate.
Okay, and our last question. Why do children who are low across the board not qualify unless they have an eligibility?
So children don't qualify unless they have an eligibility. However, in Child Fine 300.111D, the end of that, it says that a student does not have to be listed by their eligibility as long as we know that this student is in need of specially designed instruction and related services. So there's always a way to get a student qualified. I would say if you're not going to qualify him, you're just going to let him fail the whole time. So anyway, we'll see you next week at Ask the Advocates. We're starting VIP at 7 p.m. If you're a full-time advocate and you would be interested in information about that, just send us an email. And then, of course, you are all welcome to join us on the amazing, fantastico Special Education Academy at 8 p.m. Central every Monday night. Remember, we can get right with the child. We get it right in every single setting. We'll see you guys in the next training.
Hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change, we're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody.